This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings. Online at madeformorerealty.com.
So we were just talking about how Compass bought Anywhere, all those luxury brands, and kind of what's happening in the market. And
speaking, I want to touch on that real quick. So coming from the perspective of the home buyer or the home seller, does that benefit? How does that affect them in any way?
It's probably not going to affect them in any way short term.
Okay,
we'll see long term how Compass is able to fight Zillow with the whole exclusives. So that might impact the consumer, because what's going to and I don't think this is a good thing, by the way, but what's either going to happen is Zillow is going to cave and the MLSs are going to cave, and we're going to be able to market our listings off market, like not be required to put it in the MLS, which makes it harder for the home buyer to find the properties they want. So now it's harder for the buyer, but now the agent's value has gone up because you're going to need a good agent with good connections, with that off-market list, right, to help you find the house you want. So it'll boost the agent's value, but it'll probably be worse for the consumer. And
worse for the consumer in that they don't have as much accessibility to homes that are on the market or off the market,
off the market, on the market. They won't know what's available. They can't just go to one source of truth, call it Zillow, and be able to see everything that's currently listed on the market or everything that's coming soon on the market.
Interesting.
Yeah. If I was Zillow, I would lean into the coming soons and just let people market my properties coming soon. Zillow used to do that. MetroList, our local MLS here locally, said that was no longer allowed. But you know what? That's my problem with MetroList and NAR is they're trying to control it. They're trying to control it for their benefit, and I don't necessarily think they care about what the agent, their client wants, or what the agent's client, the buyer and seller, really want. So this merger's not gonna really impact them.
Right.
But
all right. Well, we had been anticipating this. This has been talked about for a long time, that coming up in September, the Fed was going to lower rates, and that's exactly what they did. So is that going to help the real estate market now? Are we going to see more folks jumping in now? Is that going to affect interest rates as far as, mortgages, and how's that all playing out from your perspective?
Yep. So as far as the interest rate drop, people are like, oh my gosh, interest rates dropped. Like the federal fund rate dropped, right? The Federal Reserve dropped their rate, but interest rates have actually gone up. So before the federal fund rate was dropped, interest rates were hovering like the 6.15, somewhere around there. As of this recording, it's hovering somewhere around 6.37. So it's gone up.
Why?
It's just natural when they first make these announcements. It has to do with like the bond market and all that. But essentially, this was expected. We were telling our clients, hey, lock in now, make a move now, because even if they do drop the rates, and if you're in the buying cycle in the next 30 days, you won't get a better rate than what you have right now. So we were warning them about that. But as far as people, I have conversations almost daily with sellers saying, hey, I'm just going to wait till interest rates drop, then my house will be worth more. And I had this. Sometimes, I don't know where you do your best thinking, but I do my best thinking in the shower. Sometimes I almost have like a notepad in the shower where I can just write some stuff down. I don't know what it is, but I was in the shower doing my thinking, and it dawned on me that when home prices inflated to how crazy high to where they are now, what were interest rates at? You remember?
When home prices were inflated?
When home prices took off, where were interest rates?
Were they in the 4s?
3s, sometimes in 2s.
Wow.
Right? And so if that's where the interest rate needed to be in order for people to afford home prices up here.
Right.
Okay, well, great. Now you're at a 6.2.
Yeah.
Home prices have to come down. So let me put it this a different way. Since home prices peaked in 2022, have all of a sudden people suddenly making twice as much money?
No.
Has there been a massive influx of people to the Sacramento region who are now coming from Texas and Tennessee and Florida and Idaho? Are they all moving to Sacramento? And so now we're competing for housing? No. So it's the same amount of people, if not less. It's the same amount of income. and interest rates are higher and prices are higher. So it comes down to an affordability
So
issue.
do you think when people go and find out, oh, how much is my home worth? Because they're thinking about selling and they go online and they get an estimate. Do you think, how inaccurate do you think those are?
Well, it depends on where you're living. If you're living in a more urban area where there's it's easy for the algorithms to comp your house.
Oh, really? So you think it's relatively accurate then?
So how I can kind of, if you're like wanting like back the napkin math, go to Zillow, write down what they think your house is worth. Go to realtor.com, write down what they think your house is worth. Go to homes.com, write down what they think your house is worth. Go to Redfin, write down what they think your house is worth. The tighter those numbers are, the closer those numbers are, the more accurate that probably is to being correct.
Okay.
As long as there's not any surprises with your home. Like, have you put in a pool? Do you have paid for solar? Do you have a dog and the dog has destroyed the house? Right. And so those are the variables. Zillow can't smell the cat pee, as Ryan Lundquist likes to say.
Oh man, yeah.
So what I'm saying is, if you're hanging your hat and waiting for interest rates to come down, hey, my house is gonna be worth more in the spring. My house is gonna be worth more. Now that rates have come down. Oh, the Fed says they're gonna do additional cuts before the end of the year. Why is the Fed doing cuts? The Fed is cutting the rate because the economy is struggling.
Okay.
That does not mean your house value is going to go up. They are dropping rates because the economy is struggling, because unemployment is up, because bad things are happening. That does not mean your house is suddenly going to be worth more. That one-off, that COVID thing where they slam the rates down to help inject money into the economy, that's why the prices took off. But that is not a 0.25% rate. Like, it's not. Home prices are.
But they say there might be an additional cut before the end of the year.
Home prices are going to fall. So let's say, because what they're saying is, if you drop the interest rate by 1%, 5 million people are going to.
Yeah, you've said that.
I have not said that. Other people have said that. Other people speculate that, and I don't.
You don't believe it.
I don't believe it. I don't believe a 1% drop is going to mean all of a sudden 5 million people are going to jump in the market, because what's going to happen is all these people who bought their homes in 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, they've been wanting to move. They have been waiting, and they cannot wait any longer. And so there is going to be a lot of inventory that I think, and is already coming to the market, and it's sitting and it's growing stale because they think their house is worth more than what their neighbor's house sold for last year. And that is not the case. And so what's going to happen is you're going to see probably a little surge of inventory before the end of the year. And then in spring of 26, I would anticipate a lot of people jumping into the market. A lot of people putting their houses on the market, supply versus demand.
Priced aggressively? Do you think they come down?
I don't think so.
I
think they're going to start figuring that out May, June. Somewhere around there.
Okay, so then how much do you think prices need to come down?
So I know it's not the same, but I was recently visiting a real estate expert in Austin, Texas. And he said that when pre-COVID in Austin, their home prices were on average $385. At the peak of the Austin market, and Austin shot up higher than other areas, it was more influenced by the COVID boom.
Right.
They were over 600,000. Okay. Where they're at right now, as of a week or so ago, their average price point is around $415. And he expects it to drop still down to $375.
Wow.
So what I anticipate happening is we had a similar issue. Our housing market is going to be a little bit more resilient. It's not going to have quite the yo-yo effect of Austin's, but I do anticipate prices coming down. And here's the thing. When you look at if you're telling me as a home seller, I need to sell my house for this much money so I can afford my next house, well, guess what? That's what everybody else is saying.
Right.
Everybody else is feeling the squeeze. It's an affordability issue. If interest rates come down, they're going to need to come down in the 4s, 3s, and 2s in order for you to get what your house is priced at. I don't know why more people aren't talking about this. The only reason why interest rates and prices have remained high, prices specifically, is because inventory has remained tight. But because people have been waiting, but they're not going to be able to wait, forever, and interest rates are just not going to drop down to where they need to go. So my anticipation is that interest rates will remain relatively high, and prices will fall.
By how much?
It all depends on how much inventory comes on the market. But if you're saying, hey, I'm not getting the price I want for my house today, I'm going to list in the spring, you're not going to get more for your house in the spring. You're just going to end up making another 6 months payments, and sell your house for at or below what it's listed today.
So 5%, 25%, 40%. We're closer to what? I don't know. You're not giving an accurate prediction here, but just how much percentage would you guess?
I mean, I would 5. I would probably see somewhere around 5.
5.
So you're not going to see like a housing collapse,
Right. Okay.
But 5's a lot.
Yeah, sure.
People get mad about paying realtors, a certain percent, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Right. And so if your house, so for hard numbers, if your house is Zillow saying somewhere around $600,000, well, 5% of $600,000 is $40,000, right? So now you're in the 5s. If your house is $800,000, 5% of that's $40,000.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money that you could potentially lose if you don't jump on it sooner rather than later. Now, what I'm also hearing is people say, hey, you know what? If I can't sell the house, if I can't get the price, then I'm just going to rent it. Okay? And that's definitely an option, but you're going to have to rent that house for at least 2 years. At least 2 years to have enough appreciation built into the property to then make up for whatever damage the tenants may or may not do to the home.
Right.
At least 2 years. So if you're going to make that decision, that's fine. Just know that's a long-term decision. That's not, I'm going to lease it out for 6 months and then go back on the market.
Right. Yeah.
That's a recipe for disaster.
All right. If people want more information or they want to figure out ways to make more money on their house or they're looking to purchase a house, are you available?
Absolutely. So if you want to sell your house, if you're like, hey, right now, that makes sense. I need to net the most amount of money possible. I need the most the market can bear. That's what we specialize in. Right. And so if you want to reach out, just go to madeformorerealty.com. That's madeformorerealty.com.